friend just called me, and Lisa doesn't know what to do because she's moving in with her new boyfriend. They've been together 6 months. She thinks this is going to last, and I hope it does. But I'm worried because she owns her own home. She makes more money than he does, and he's coming into this with not really anything. So what happens if they break up? Does she need to see a lawyer? She doesn't. I think to me, I think she needs almost a prenup right now.
So she should have what we call a cohabitation agreement. Prenup's a bit of an American term. We have two kinds of these things in Canada, or Ontario actually. One's called a cohabitation agreement, one's called a marriage contract. Right, the name suggests cohabitation agreement, you're living together, marriage contract, you're married. Cohabitation agreement, if it's done right, can actually transition into a marriage contract if you get married. Two things she needs to worry about. Spousal support, but only if they live together continuously for more than 3 years. That's what becomes what we call common law in Ontario law. The old saying, as my dad used to say, you know, you can bring your toothbrush but not your suitcase. If you don't stay together continuously for 3 years, there is no spousal support obligation. It's not a problem. If, however, they're going to live in her house, then she needs to worry about, is he making contributions to the house, direct or indirect? Direct can be he's paying some of the mortgage, he's paying the heat, he's paying the hydro, he's building an addition, he's paying for material. Indirect can be he's paying other expenses that she would normally pay, which frees up cash for her that she gets to spend on other things. Either way, he may get what we call a constructive trust interest in the house. Now, that's not 50-50. You got to be married to get automatic 50-50. We'll talk about that bit too. Because if they live in her house, they get married, they stay in it, it becomes a matrimonial home. If she doesn't have an agreement, she just gave away half the house. Not good. So she needs to think about that.
So should she see a lawyer before they move in?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because here's the problem, practically. Some of these things are technical and some of these things are practical. How do you sit down with someone you've been living with, say, for 6 months ago? Now, honey, I love you, but you have to sign here, here, and here, and here. Most folks who come to me really struggle with that, whether they are the person who's proposing the contract, whether they're the person who is going to sign the contract. It's really awkward when you've already been in it to try to change the rules of engagement. But if you sit down beforehand as adults, you know, as Frankie Sinatra likes to say, love is lovelier the second time around. Well, a lot of people are doing that these days. And if you sit down and talk beforehand and say, look, before we jump into this next level, we're now just boyfriend and girlfriend and we're dating. I'm bringing my toothbrush, but not my suitcase. I've got my own place. We're having some benefits, but that's it. Now we're going to live together, and we're hoping that's going to turn into something serious. Well, legally, it's already serious when you start to live together. So before we do that, let's set out the rules of engagement. Statistically, I think 54% of these things fall apart. So you should assume that the odds are that it may not work. So let's set out the rules so neither one of us gets sacrificed on the altar of economic disparity when this goes south. When it goes south and people get angry, they forget those promises of don't worry, I'll never come after you for your money. They rip your heart out through your wallet, as Robert Williams used to say.
What about pension and stuff like that? Because she has a really good pension.
Can't touch it.
He can't touch that?
With or without an agreement, he can't touch it. There's no way that he can ever make a contribution to that pension, direct or indirect. The pension, whether it's a defined benefit pension or whether it's not, so to speak English and push the translator button here, a defined benefit pension, a defined contribution pension is when you and your employer both make contributions. It gets invested in a fund, and the fund actually makes money, as opposed to a straight RSP, where your employer just takes $20 a week off your check and plops it into an RSP, and you can see the balance going up all the time. Regardless of what she's got, the only way money gets in there is she puts it in through her salary, and her employer matches or contributes something. But regardless of whether she's living with him or not, the pension contributions will remain equal. So he could never argue that he made a direct or an indirect contribution to that pension, even if he paid the whole mortgage, paid her car, took her to Hawaii, bought her Chanel suits. It doesn't matter. She's the only one making contributions to the pension, regardless of her involvement with him. So the pension's safe, agreement or no agreement.
Okay. And I think this is raw too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Because I saw this.
And I don't see what Kelly, I don't
in
even
the
know.
office.
I got food in the office. You think I got to be decided by eating vegan? Of course I got food in the office. And then you mix that all together. There was me, Chef Nadia, her mom, who was 80 at the time, and one Japanese komi in this little kitchen where if I turned around, I'd hit somebody because I was huge compared to everybody in the kitchen. And it was a Michelin 3-star restaurant with that tiny little kitchen. Everything was homemade from scratch at the last minute, including the pasta. It was just unbelievable. Wow. He sent me to Japan. He sent me to Argentina. He sent me all over the place. It was kind of cool. And you've been the victim of some of my dinners, so you know where it comes from.
Best food ever. And then how did you end up cooking at the King Edward?
I used to live in a house 100 nights a year. So I've done a lot of Toronto work over the years. When I first started to go to Toronto in 88 for a couple of clients, I needed a place to stay. They had recently redone the King Eddie. I wanted to stay there because my dad used to stay there in the 50s, so I went and met the GM and we made a deal. And as I got busier and busier in Toronto throughout the late 90s, I just had a standing res on a suite. I just had a suite. I left my clothes there. They billed me for 100 nights a year. And then as I did this stuff in France, the GMs were friends of mine. And they would invite me to cook dinners at the King Eddie. Some were for charities. Some were private chef's table dinners in the kitchen. Some were full 200 people in the restaurant. Like we did La Chaîne des Rôtisseurs. We would do Brazilian ball night. We did all kinds of charity dinners at the King Eddie. Yeah, lots of fun.
We're gonna get one rap song with Peter raising the roof.
That's where you come. You do the kid. I'm a white man, remember? I can't sing a frog caught in a blender.
But that's even better.
No, it's not. No, it's not. There's some things I don't do well. I don't sing well.
I want you to stir it up.
I'll do the Gangnam Style. Can I get those pants that hang down to my knees?
Yeah.
No. Marcello Tarantino would roll over dead if he got that.
Well,